got a chance to see the new Robert De Niro / Robert De Niro film, The Alto Nights. Let's talk about it right now. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thank you so much for spending time with me as we rant about movies, comic books, and television shows, as well as the occasional board game. I am your host, Frank Zenka. I'm an award-winning screenwriter, novelist, and comic book writer, as well as a filmmaker. And yeah, doing a budget right now for a film, and I'm looking forward to getting back on set in a couple of weeks. I think we're going to pre-production next week. Looks good. So yeah, we're gonna talk about this. Remember to give me a like, give me a subscribe if you can, and if you can share this video out there, that would be great, because I like to promote independent films, and I'm not sure how independent this is, but it feels independent to me. I don't know. Remember too, you can go to Amazon.com, just type my name in, Frank Zenka, and if you'll check out some of the things that I've written throughout the years, my 4-novel series, Destiny Aurora. It's a sci-fi series. And on top of that, I have my, well, that was on Audible also. All these are on Kindle, by the way, as well. If you'd like to read them either physically or digitally, it's either one. It is on Audible as well. And then it also was made into a board game and an RPG and things to that effect as well. Then I have my fantasy novel, Tales of Ravenor, the Iron Witch, which has gotten some good feedback. And my comics are also up there as well. Lords of LA is still selling. So yeah, I went to the comic shop the other day, and they're like, "Well, you have a credit of $15." I'm like, "What happened?" And he's like, "We sold a crap load of shit of Lords of LA." I'm like, "Okay, great." So that thing's still selling too. So if you'd like a copy of that, it's my Vampire Mob in the '50s. So let's talk about Alto Nights. I didn't even know this existed. I'm sure that everyone that is watching this right now never heard of this film. And I'm really, really confused about this. So this is a Barry Levinson production. He is no stranger to high-end films. I don't know what's going on here. I'm very, very confused. So you have Robert De Niro plays 2 parts in here. You have Debra Messing, who plays his wife. And as I said, directed and produced by Barry Levinson. Irwin Winkler is also the producer on this thing. It was written by Nicholas Pileggi, who, if you don't know that name, he's one of the writers on Casino and Goodfellas, as well as The Irishman. The Irishman was okay, but the other 2 are standouts. So you have this huge, huge film that's $45 million. We just talked about, if you watch my review for Black Bag, we just talked about that being a Soderbergh film, and that thing was $50 million. None of these films have any marketing whatsoever. And if it was just one film that didn't get any marketing, okay, maybe somebody pissed somebody off. They're looking to take a write-off on it. They don't believe in it. But it's like every film. There's also another movie out this week called Locked, which I just saw. Jeremy Johns just did a review on. I'm shocked that he went to see it, because I didn't even know that thing existed until I went to the theater and saw the trailer up there. Not the trailer, but the marquee up for it. And so unless you're scrolling through AMC.com, you're not going to even see these movies exist. And Locked has the guy from It, the Skarsgård, plus Anthony Hopkins. I think Anthony Hopkins just plays a voice for the most of the movie, but still, how are these movies getting no marketing? Unless you have Disney behind you, you have no marketing? Well, I don't understand this. There was more marketing through Angel Films than we have through Warner Brothers. I'm so really confused by this. So are we getting into this world of film where it's kind of like publishing right now? Because nobody even goes with the top publishers anymore, because the first thing they ask you is how you're going to market it. So is it this type of thing where they're just not marketing films anymore, and these independent films that get distribution through the majors have to get their own distribution, have to pay for their own distribution? I'm really, really confused by this. And if this is the way it is, if this is how this landscape is changing, where we have Kate Blanchett and Michael Fassbender and Robert De Niro don't get any marketing, then how are the little guys supposed to? I mean, they're not even going out and doing talk shows. Nothing. I don't. If anybody has any clue to what's happening in Hollywood right now as far as distribution is concerned, because I'm not really on the distribution side. I'm on the production side. But if everybody has any kind of inkling about what is going on in the distribution side, I really, really want to know, because it just doesn't. None of it makes any sense. None. It's like because this is lucky to make $2 million. So they're just going to be losing money. I don't get it. But jumping off that soapbox, let's get into the actual film. So, of course, as I said, this is a Barry Levinson film. It is a classic gangster film. It looks like a classic gangster's film. And Robert De Niro plays two different roles. This is based on a true story. So if you are a fan of gangster film, mobster, true life story, mobster stuff, then you'll like this. If not, if you have no interest in that world or in the history of it at all, then you will not like this film. Okay? So that is the dividing line. Because I've read other people's reviews right now. It's on IMDb, not IMDb, but Rotten Tomatoes at 38%. This is not a 38% film at all. In fact, some of the performances in here are excellent. I mean, really, really good performances. I know that Robert De Niro has rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. I know he's completely gone off the deep end. And he's 81 years old. Give the guy a break, I guess, But on the film side, on the acting side, he does a great job. And from Debra Messing, they must have aged her up, because she looks really, really rough. It's really rough. She plays his wife, Bobby. And again, that's true to life as well. And he also plays Vito Genovese. And it's funny because I had to wait to do this review, because if I did like a full review, I did like a 1 minute out of the theater. I'm an Italian New Yorker myself, okay? I was an offshoot of that world. So that's why it really appeals to me, because it's kind of my history as well. In fact, my father he was an engineer, so everything had to be overly complicated with him. In fact, he did the lights inside the Twin Towers and stuff like that. And he did the scoreboard. His whole group did the scoreboard for the Yankees and things to that effect. Where when we were in the seats, we would get pointed out in the jumbotron and stuff like that. But anyway, we had a family reunion, and he did this huge family tree that must have spanned 200. That's got to be 200 feet, at least 200 feet. It went around like an entire huge living room, and there were certain points that stopped, where it didn't go into the box, and it said, Uncle Louie found in the trunk of his car. Uncle Jimmy found on the beach. So, yeah, I'm basically one generation removed from some of this shit. But yeah, so when I'm in the presence, or I go to New York and I hear the accents, I get it back very, very, very quickly. So I have to wait, or I start going, hey, I'm just talking like this. Hey, forget about it. I'm talking about, hey. But the thing with Robert De Niro is he's played these roles so many times that, he could probably do this in his sleep. He could have dialed this shit in. But in one, he's playing one character, he's like in full makeup. I mean, I think he had full prosthetics on in the other role as well. Like his nose is different, but the other guy, his chin, everything is completely different. And if you look the character up online, Vito Genovese, you'll see that he looks almost exact. It's crazy how close he is. But also we have Catherine Narducci in here. God, I knew some women like this in New York. Classic New Yorker. Yeah, it was, again, the performances are real. She's from Euphoria. But really, really good. So the storyline, I don't want to make this thing too long, but the storyline is this is um, the bout between the two characters. So in history, Vito was running New York. Okay, he was the boss of bosses, but he had to go on the lam, which means he had to leave, or else he was getting investigated, kind of thing. So he ended up going to Italy, and they would normally stay there for a couple of years and then come back. So he handed everything to Frank Costello, and if you haven't seen Mobsters, so Mobsters is a little bit more cartoony with Christian Slater, and it's an all-star cast in there. But it was about Lucky Luciano, Meyer Lansky, Frank Costello, and Bugsy Siegel. So it was their origin story, but it's a little bit more cartoony than what these things are. And I really, really like that film, even though it's a little bit cartoony. And then, of course, you have Bugsy, Warren Beatty playing the main character there, and of course this creator also of did Bugsy also did this as well. So you get a little bit of that look as well. But if you haven't seen Bugsy, what a great performance by Warren Beatty. I mean, that's probably his best performance of his life. But it also has to do with Bugsy Siegel, obviously, Meyer Lansky, Lucky Luciano. All those guys are all mentioned in here. But anyway, so this is the older life of Frank Costello, who has more of a minor role in Mobsters. But anyway, Vito hands him the main boss crown, and he's supposed to hand it back when Vito comes back. However, Vito gets stuck in Italy because of World War II. So he's stuck there for 15 years. So by the time he comes back, everything's changed. There is no, Frank giving everything back. And Frank's run everything without any kind of conflict, appeal, nothing like that. And he's all more level-headed. He was able to keep the peace, make everybody making money. And then you had Vito come back, and he said, "I want anything back." And everybody's like, no, we like the way everything's running. Because there's like a council of mob bosses throughout the United States. And especially throughout New York. There's like 6 or 7 just in New York. And they're like, no. So he's already pissed off. And this guy he likes war. I mean, he gets off the handle on everything. And that's where the conflict now occurs. Plus, he was running drugs in Italy. And everybody's like, no, we don't do that here. And he started bringing drugs to New York. And everybody was like, you're going to put the heat on us and all that stuff. So there's a whole lot of conflict going on. And it just shows a difference of their life. And the split screen, when they're in the room together, really, really good stuff. You can't even tell. You're more engrossed with the performances of the same person twice that feel like two different people. I gotta say, he really made Vito a different character. Like, Frank Costello is more his traditional, but Vito character is definitely a different persona. I like the way, because it takes place in 1957, so it is a period piece. They had the period cars. It was all done very, very well. The things I didn't like, he has scenes where he breaks the fourth wall and is basically doing this kind of interview. I didn't like that at all. I thought it was completely out of place. It just didn't fit at all. So every time he broke the fourth wall, he could have done it as a voiceover, but I was fine. But literally, he's sitting there talking to the camera, and I'm like, ugh. I did like a little bit of they showed pictures, and then they showed reels of real life that are in black and white. Some of that was okay, some of that I liked, and some of it was overdone, I thought. I think they used it too much. I think it has a running time of about 2 hours. I think they could have cut a little bit of that out. There's one scene where, he's, flipping through, the pictures that, back in the 60s, they had the viewer, the projector. That's how we used to look at pictures, too. I mean, my dad would pull that out, like, once a month. And, we have to sit and look at pictures. Nowadays we have a computer. We go click, 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 and we're done. But back then, there was none of that. We physically had to pull up a projector and look at our pictures in little slides. That slide projector, that's what it was called. Yeah. So it was interesting seeing that as well. But overall, I personally really recommend this film because it's my type of film. Because I like the history of it. I like the drama of it. I like the personality conflicts. I like all that stuff. I think that's all on display here. I was expecting a far smaller film. I thought it was a full low-budget film, but it's not. And I highly recommend it if you are a fan of those films. I don't want you to. There was like one review where the guy says, "Oh, this was not for me," and I was really bored, so I was scrolling through my phone the whole time. Yeah, he and I would be having some freaking words, man. So, also, today was Thursday, right? So you're not going to see this till Friday because I have to edit it. But it was Thursday, and what was tonight? Tonight was the opening night of Snow White, right? It was playing in like 5 different theaters in this movie theater. It's an AMC. I have never seen less cars in the parking lot on a Thursday night than I did tonight. I mean, it was dead. I got there late, and I parked all the way up front. I mean, it was bad. If that's any sign of how Snow White is going to do, that thing is going to trash. That is going to be burning. Scary. It's really scary. But I am going to go see Locked. I'm not going to see Snow White. It's not made for me. I have no intention of seeing that. But it will be interesting to see if anybody knows why, there's no marketing for any of these movies that are not Disney. It's crazy. All right, well, that's it for me. Remember to give me a like, give me a thumbs up if you can. If you can, share this video out there so everybody knows more about this movie. That would be great. I am going to rate this at least a 7.5, if not closer to. It's a 7.5 because I'm not really going to watch it again. I might watch it again. I might watch a piece of it again, but it's of course it's a slow burn, so it's not something that's going to hold your attention if you watch it multiple times. It's not like an action movie where you like to see the action over and over. I think Bugsy Siegel or Bugsy was a far better film, and I would more rate that like an 8.5. So I think 7.5 is about good with this. But anyway. If you go see it, let me know what you guys think. You rate it higher, lower than me. If definitely if you're a fan of The Godfather and all that stuff, you're going to like this. All right, I will see you guys on the next episode. Remember to go to Amazon.com and check out anything that I've written, and I will see you on the next episode. Have an awesome week.